I don't think that I've ever been this excited for the end of the school year. It's been a little loco and I'm just done. We only have a few more weeks of school, which means it's time to clean up and declutter. If you haven't been here before, my name is Erin Holloway, and this is Misbehaved, the channel for people who work with students with social emotional disorders. So with COVID, we've had a lot of time to reflect about what is necessary and what is not. I did enjoy the simplicity of it and actually find decluttering and organization therapeutic. I assure you this has not always been the case. In past years, I would just stuff everything into cabinets and hope for the best at the beginning of the upcoming school year. It would always end up biting me in the butt as I could not find anything and would end up buying supplies that I already had or remaking materials because they had disappeared in the ever-growing pile of doom of my classroom cabinets. It was worse last year because with COVID, we weren't really given a lot of time to check out because we were suddenly pulled into online learning and didn't really come back. Felt like I spent a lot of this year trying to find out where things went to. This will not happen again. Today, I will give advice on a more effective way to declutter and pack up your classroom for the summer. Number 1, make it a team effort. The disarray left over from last year forced me to do something different. My classroom is now organized and everything is labeled. What really helped is that because the numbers of students in my classroom this year were so low, my aide and I were able to work together on this venture. So we both know where everything is. If you work with somebody else in your classroom, make sure that you declutter together. Then there is no doubt as to where things belong, and it's easier to keep it organized. Number 2, purge, purge, purge. I think teachers are natural hoarders. We are always looking for and holding onto stuff that we might use in the future. But after a few years, we end up with a lot of clutter of things that we haven't ever used and probably never will use. If you haven't used it regularly in the past few years, get rid of it. This means unused curriculum, art supplies, books, and posters. And if you teach 5th grade, get rid of your kindergarten materials. There are plenty of new teachers who would appreciate the donation. My school has a table in the break room where the teachers shop for treasures that are no longer wanted. When I first got to my classroom, it already was cluttered. The teacher before me was a master hoarder, and it has taken me 5 years in this classroom to finally get rid of most of it. This was a recipe for disaster because I am not a natural organizer. If you have an overabundance of an item, use the container method recommended by the Slob Comes Clean. She recommends that people figure out how much space that they have and get containers for that area. If your belongings don't fit in the containers, you need to declutter more, or until your belongings are able to fit in the boxes without spilling over. Have your students help with the decluttering. They can help by throwing out any glue sticks or markers that have gone bad. They can sort colored paper by color and go through any games and puzzles that you have and make sure that you have all the pieces. So I'm about to show you the one part of my classroom that I haven't really worked on yet this year. And I've shown you before how pretty organized my cabinets are. However, what you haven't seen, let me turn this around, are where all of my posters and stuff are. Pretty raunchy, huh? Anyway, today I'm going to go through my posters. I've decided that I'm going to get rid of most of my posters as I'm not going to ever use them again. And if I'm not going to use them, I shouldn't have them in here. It's a good rule of thumb, especially if you're into minimalism as I am right now. So I have decided that especially anchor charts, I'm getting rid of my anchor charts because I think the kids do better when we create the anchor charts together rather than if I just use an anchor chart that I've used before. So I'm going to throw those out. And then I've also have some really cute Star Wars things that I've used in the past and posters that I've used in the past for my classroom, but I'm not doing Star Wars anymore. I've decided to have more of a classroom that looks more like a house right now. So that's why I'm using the farmhouse setting. I think it's more calming than what I used before, which was the Star Wars bulletin board sets and stuff. So I will be getting rid of all of this fun stuff. Like I said, here are my anchor charts. Kind of a mess. It is a hot mess in here. And while I go through it, you can watch. So I'm all done now. It looks a lot better. I just have some chart paper under here and the few posters that I decided to keep for the school year are right here. Number 3, label everything. Self-contained classrooms have a lot of people coming in and out of them between aides, students, and service providers. You're going to want these people to know where things belong for easy access and for easy cleanup. I can't tell you how nice it is to have somebody come into your classroom to borrow something and you know exactly where it is. This week, our occupational therapist came into my classroom and asked to borrow tape. We were complimented for being so organized, which felt so good because I've said so many times before, I am not naturally organized. Another bonus to this is that she knew exactly where to put the tape back when it came to returning it. Normally, when people borrowed stuff before, it would just be left out on a counter only to be forgotten. Those days are long gone. Number 4, if something belongs out on a counter, the top of a shelf, or on your desk, pack it up. This will make it easier for the custodial staff to clean your shelves and will prevent things from growing legs over the summer or getting broken. Make sure you label your boxes so that you know where everything is for when it's time to set up your classroom. Here's a helpful tip. I got these really cool labels from Outlink. They have a QR code that links you to an app that lists everything in a box so that you know exactly where it is stored in. I will post a link in the description for your convenience. Number 5, take a picture of your room for easy setup. I've never done this before because I've always wanted to switch up the way my classroom is set up year by year. But I really like how my classroom was set up this year, so I took pictures of my classroom, and I also had my aide draw a diagram for the custodians so that they can move everything back to where it belongs. This year, the pandemic has really made me think about how to simplify things. I want to be able to come back to my classroom with everything more or less set up. This will also give me a very needed break this summer. Number 6, make a first week of school box. This box should have everything you might need for the first week of school, such as your lesson plans, copies needed, and any materials ready to go for when you start back to school in the fall. How awesome would it be if you can limit the amount of time you have to prep during the summer? We usually come back a few days before the students are back, but the reality is that very little of that time is in the actual classroom due to meetings and professional development. My hope is that by decluttering and having some order to the madness of packing up the classroom for summer will make the beginning of the year easier for all involved. Let's be honest, the first few days in a classroom for students with emotional behavioral disorders can be difficult. They often struggle transitioning from summer to a more structured setting. If spending a little more time at the end of the year helps, it is totally worth it. I hope you visit this page again. Please press like and subscribe to our page. Talk to you later.